Is the 2021 Apple TV 4K set-top box worth the upgrade from a previous generation Apple TV? Or should you just consider upgrading to the new Siri remote for about half the cost? Well, I think there are two main factors to consider here. One is smart home connectivity and the other one is frame rate. So let's talk about the details. Now, if you're new here, my name's Eric Welander and welcome to my channel all about Apple smart home tech. If that's something you're into, consider subscribing. And since this is a smart home channel, let's first start by talking about the smart home features of the Apple TV. Now, one thing they didn't mention in the presentation is that the Apple TV includes a Thread radio. And this means that the Apple TV can be a border router for a growing number of smart home accessories that you can get that work with HomeKit and Thread already today. A lot of people talk about this as something that might happen in the future. It's like, no, Thread is here. So why Thread? Maybe you've heard about it, but in short, it takes the load off of your Wi-Fi network, and it's just a wireless technology that's more built for this use case of having all these different sensors and light bulbs and other things around your house communicating rather than getting Wi-Fi internet to your laptop. Now, one of the important roles the Apple TV can serve in your smart home is as a HomeKit hub, and this is the central command center for everything related to HomeKit, all your automations or scenes or things running in your home. And this also allows you to control your HomeKit home while you're away from the house. A full-size HomePod or a HomePod mini can also be your HomeKit hub. But if you don't have HomePods or you're not interested in them, oftentimes an Apple TV is your main HomeKit hub. And if that's the case, I think you'll see a big benefit from upgrading to the new Apple TV. Not only does it add the Thread radio, but it also has a much faster processor in the A12 Bionic compared to the A10X in the previous generation Apple TV 4K. And this is especially relevant if you're using HomeKit Secure Video, because HomeKit Secure Video uses a local HomeKit hub to do the image recognition and video processing to decide which clips to record to your iCloud account and which, what's just normal video going through the cameras. Speaking of connections, this new Apple TV also supports Wi-Fi 6 and some of the newer Wi-Fi standards. So if you plan to connect your Apple TV to your network via Wi-Fi and use it for a lot of the smart home stuff, that's all going to work together to make it more valuable in your smart home. And again, these are the kind of changes in your home that probably aren't going to just blow you away and you'll notice them all the time. But the idea is that if you continue to invest in upgrading your infrastructure in your smart home, it leads to less dropped accessories and issues and problems that you have to deal with on a regular basis. So the second category is frame rate. Now, this is the number of frames per second that your Apple TV puts on the screen for the content for you to watch, whether you're just thumbing around the menus or actually watching content. And this can also be expressed in hertz if you're looking at television. So 60 hertz equals 60 frames a second. And one of the main selling points of the new Apple TV 4K is that it supports 4K HDR playback at 60 frames a second or 60 hertz. And Apple mentions that this is double the frame rate of the previous generation Apple TV. Now, while there's limited content to support this frame rate right now, there's supposed to be a growing amount of sports content coming in high frame rate playback, as well as, of course, all the latest iPhone 12 models can shoot 4K HDR video at 60 hertz. One other interesting piece of this is that Apple included an HDMI 2.1 port on the back of the Apple TV, and that has the capability to drive 120 frames a second. This A12 Bionic chip is the same chip that's in the 2018 iPad Pros, and those run at 120 frames a second, but at a lower resolution than 4K. And it's reasonable to think that Apple could drive 4K at 120 frames a second, of course, through the new HDMI 2.1 spec over to a TV that supports it with some kind of a software update in the future. And there's actually been some leaks about the tvOS beta 14.5. Some people investigating those betas have found strings that refer to 120 hertz refresh rate in the tvOS code. So there's a possibility that it's coming, so you might even be able to get more than 60 hertz frame rate on this new Apple TV, but we'll have to wait and see what comes in future software updates. But again, while 120 hertz always looks nice and smooth for something like Apple Arcade gaming, I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as it is for consoles that provide that high frame rate for gaming. So the big question we've been getting at this whole time, is the Apple TV 4K 2021 version worth the upgrade? Well, I think if you have an Apple TV HD or any of the older versions, you know, that's like the Apple TV that supports 1080p and not 4K video. If you have that or earlier, it's definitely going to be a huge processor and performance boost and just all around connectivity upgrade. So I'd highly recommend upgrading the Apple TV 4K now. They're discontinuing the old version of the Apple TV 4K again, so you're only able to get the new one now. They also still sell the Apple TV HD for $150. So just please, just don't even look at that for a second. Don't let anybody you know ever buy the Apple TV HD. It is a complete ripoff. And one of the beauties of modern day Apple is that they've added AirPlay and their Apple TV app to a bunch of other streaming boxes that are a lot cheaper. So if you're not interested in getting the full scale Apple TV 4K, then look at another streaming box. Don't get the Apple TV HD. Now, what if you already have an Apple TV 4K in the previous generation? Well, you know, it would be worth the upgrade if you just want the best connectivity and controls for your HomeKit smart home, or also if you have a TV that supports the new higher frame rates like 4K HDR at 60 hertz, or even better yet, a 120 hertz TV. You're probably going to see those benefits down the road as more content and support comes out for these higher frame rates. But if you don't have one of those new TVs and you don't plan on getting one anytime soon, you might just look at upgrading the remote. The new Siri remote is a huge upgrade over the previous remote. And of course, I'll be getting the new Apple TV. Now, hold up here. This is Future Eric, and I just wanted to clarify that I actually did not order the 2021 Apple TV 4K. I have a TV that supports 4K, but not at the higher frame rates. I already have an Apple TV 4K. I have plenty of HomePod minis and HomePods to act as alternate HomeKit hubs, and so it's not just relying on my Apple TV. And so I just wanted to, you know, go ahead and get the remote, and of course I'll be telling you guys all about the experience of upgrading to the new remote and what it does compared to the previous remote and doesn't do, and also compared to other remotes like the Roku remote that I've been using for a while, which, by the way, a lot of Roku devices also work with HomeKit these days, not as a hub, but just being controlled by it. So another thing to consider here as you're looking at different boxes and options. And if you're interested in hooking up your HomePods as speakers to your Apple TV, I mean, is that the ultimate Apple viewing experience? Maybe, maybe not. I did a video about that. Should be linked here on the screen. And I'll see you in the next video.